Good evening, everyone. Thanks for inviting me along. Hopefully this will be something of interest. Just show of hands, who's seen BIM 360 design? Who's using it? You probably know more than me, those who are using it. So we'll give you a bit of a workflow, just an introduction to it, simply what it is and how it works, but also we'll talk about where we were before and how we are and how we're going forward. Just start off, just a bit about me. So I work for Man Machine, which is an audit reseller. I've got over 22 years worth of experience in the industry. Initially, structural engineering is my background. I took a bit of time out a few years ago to work client side. So I used to work at the University of Manchester as the BIM manager there, trying to implement BIM in that organisation. I must say, people in this room may know me through social media and things like that. From a client point of view, it's the best job you can ever do to learn about what a client actually wants. And for those of you who may sort of like slag the client off, things like that, to say clients don't know what they want, they don't. So we need to help them. So a bit of advice there, if you do work with clients, and they give you the eye, you don't understand, go and talk to them and listen to what they've got to say and then help them. I'm a certified instructor and professional and have been for a number of years now. And I've got quite a diverse background. I also, as part of my job with my colleague, we have a BIM Ready program. So we actually train people, not just in software, but actually on the consultancy sort of side, where we help people understand what BIM is, for example, how you can utilise it with tools like Revit and other such things. But also things like the deliverables that people ask for, coding, what is it, IFC, what is that, how can we use it, those kind of things. And those tend to be my day contrasts of mostly over the coming weeks. So, like I say, I work for Man Machine. We are a large European platinum WORKSETS partner. I'm not going into too much detail of that, but we spend a lot of time helping people like yourselves, whether it's buying a piece of software and not just order up here, or whether it's consultancy and how to actually work in an environment where someone has, for example, 3D models, and in some cases still 2D data. So just to cover what I'm going to go through here, so we'll look at a cloud-based work environment, look at native file format. I will talk a bit about IFC, but I'm predominantly looking at this as a native file format. So I'm going to introduce what Revit and BIM 360 design, including docs, does. Also talk about traditional ways, how we used to work, and probably how some of you do still work now. And also look at some of the viewing sort of platforms as well. Just to sort of set the scene, BIM 360 has been around for quite a while now, and for those of you who know about it, and those of you who don't, there's quite a few parts of BIM 360. I'm not going into too much depth, but we're going to look at docs and design as part of this. But just for your information, on the left-hand side, many of you probably have an Autodesk AAC collection at the moment. If you can guess all the icons there, they're all products that actually work with BIM 360 at the moment. One being Sales 3D, which is quite recent, which some of you in the room may be interested in. And obviously there you can do your surfaces, if you're not using Revit. Just to highlight a few things, obviously BIM 360 is a large platform. I'm not trying to sell you, I'm just trying to set the picture here of what it is and what it can do. And we're going to look at a small part here in the design collaboration phase, and also look at a bit of document management. So for anyone's benefit, who doesn't know what it is, obviously design collaboration is there to help users work in the environment and collaborate with others, whether that's people in your own organisation or people outside your organisation, i.e., for example, on a project. Obviously it will work in multiple ways, so you can utilise it in well, your best practice really. So imagine, for example, you're an architect, you're a structural engineer, you're a building service engineer, you're a landscape engineer, anyone that's working on a project, you're potentially using the product, i.e. Revit. Okay? You want to work in a collaborative way that you're all working together and you can share the information at any time. So potentially, you'll have your model. Now, I suppose in the traditional format, you centralise your model on your server and then everyone would take a local copy and you'd save back and forth to that model. Okay? Whether it's each user locally. And that could be users whether it's in your own environment or if you're using some kind of online application to help push and pull that. So Revit itself, we initially started off with local sharing. So quite limited, it's saved in your own server, it's local. Like I just mentioned with the centralised file, you save it locally and only you can work on that file in your organisation if you allow other people access. Then Revit Server came along, and so pretty much it just helped a little bit to push the data back and forth. And then we have collaboration for Revit. This was the first step in towards like the cloud-based environment. And now we have BIM 360 design and collaboration. So it's evolving all the time, it's next generation. One thing I will say about the BIM 360 is it's forever evolving. There's actually been an update this week, which, funnily enough, I only just picked it up yesterday because I've been out. But it allows us to continuously work in the product and get updates on a daily and weekly and monthly basis. So if we look at work share, so typically we would create a file, whether we're in Manchester, whether we're in London, whether we're the other side of the world, it doesn't really matter. We tend to share that file somewhere, for example in the cloud, we'll use BIM 360 as the example on the screen. And when we share the file back and forth. But also using this BIM 360 gives us an option to share the files to people who are working on the site who won't necessarily work in Revit, which that is sometimes the case. So if we look at it, how does it work? So we'll take these three disciplines here. You've got the architecture team at the top, MEP in the middle, and structure at the bottom. So the architecture will produce a model. They will then push the model into BIM 360. Okay, seems quite straightforward. And then BIM 360 design will then take it into a combination that file will then be pushed into the design collaboration, which then the MEP will start to do the same process. But the architecture information you can push back so the MEP can use them. And that process will continue with all the disciplines we've worked on the project. So every time the file is pushed forward. Okay? So the file is initially stored in the BIM 360 docs area, but actually you're working in design collaboration to collaborate information. Okay? So you're linking the information in the cloud, not locally on your own server. So as you go through, and you see here, the project will just continue as everyone starts to pushing back the data between the organisations. And then they'll link it into their own information as it goes through. So we look at it. In context, this is what it will look like, and I'll show you again in a minute exactly what it is. But you'll see here, you have at the top, you have some swim lanes. There's only 3 companies there at the moment, but there could be many. I've got projects with a few clients, and they've had multiple organisations in there, and this just grows. So it's classed as a swim lane, and you have these little icons here depending on what's happening in the project at the time. You can see there's the model in the middle, and on the left-hand side there's some information about the views that you've been uploaded to. As part of that, we can look at the model. It's not just there to see, but we can actually delve down, we can cut into the model. We can take information out of that model. So you don't have to have a copy of Revit, for example, to do that. You can link other files in, and you can see here there's the building services model in. And then you can also review what actually has changed in the model. Okay? With regards to colour, you can see on the left-hand side there's a few little images there that actually specify what the changes may be, what's been removed, and what's also been modified. So if we look at this, okay, now I've put some videos together because I didn't really want to go into live demos just in case anything went wrong and the time spent uploading. So initially you set a project up in BIM 360 docs, and from that you start setting up your project with all the folder structure. Now bear in mind that the folder structure will be as per what your project specific. We're not using the plans area here, we're going to use the project files area. And I'm going to set up each individual area specific to our location, i.e. architect, building services and so forth. And then from that, we're going to save our information from the cloud. Okay, so it's a simple file, save as, and cloud. Revit will do everything else for you. With regards to this, you'll set up your link to your hub, you'll use your desktop connector to connect it directly to your hub, you'll go to the location of where you need, and you simply just save the file in there. It's as simple as that. Then once the file's saved up in there, that information can be accessed by anybody who has access to BIM 360. You don't have to have a version or a copy of the application like so. Okay. So then once it's saved in the cloud, we have to set up, and in this case, because obviously multiple people work on this, we'll set up a worksheet. But you'll see there's the file that is stored in the cloud itself. Okay. The file itself will just continuously update every time you save it to the cloud, so we can utilise it and view that. Plus, you'll have a number of versions so you can look back. Okay, and you see here, I'm sharing the file in the cloud, so others can actually work on the file rather than just individual people. Okay. This can take a little bit of time, obviously depending on the bandwidth to the internet, but reasonable file sizes do take a couple of minutes maximum. Okay. And then obviously you can go in and set your work sets up so you can work on this, as you can see. What it allows us to do is publish what information we want to see inside this. So, for example, we can just show the 3D model, we can show all the views, and we can show the sheets. In this case, I'm just going to show the 3D view, because all we're looking at is coordination here. We're not bothered about the sheets, so I'm just putting a coordinated 3D view that we can send through. Okay. And that's the MEP model that's on here, and obviously we do the same approach for all the different disciplines. What I'm doing here is now I'm publishing that to the cloud, so it will push it straight into Docs, and then obviously into BIM 360 design at the same time. Okay. Now bear in mind, I'm doing this for one machine, trying to simulate all the different disciplines, so you may see more than one model at the same time as it goes up. Okay. Now we're back in BIM 360, you can see here, I'm just clicking on there to look at the file. Sorry. So I'm going to view the file now, so you see, click on the file, I can actually take a look at what the file looks like. Okay, you can see it's there, it's loading up. Okay, there's a file in the cloud, I can rotate down, I can zoom in. You can see here I've got some tools at the bottom so I can actually select things. I can pad around my model, I can orbit. Okay, I can even select elements in here. You'll see I'll select an element and I'm going to pick on properties and gives the information associated to that property within there. Okay. So from that, I have a few more options on the left hand side. I can do markups, so I want to make a comment on the view, and this is directly in 3D view. I can select a different version if I wish at the same point. Okay. So it allows us to actually view the information quite easily without having skills and knowledge of how to use a three-dimensional program like Revit. So then we go in here, you'll see there's a folder now under each discipline that says consumed. So what it's going to do is, as we push the files up into BIM 360 design, it's going to create another folder called Shared. So hopefully you see that on the left-hand side there. Okay. And it will place a copy of that file every time we show the file up and just overwrite it. Okay. So there's the file that I've got. If I just switch into Design Collaboration. Now initially, when you first set it up, it takes a little bit of work and you need someone to set it up, but once it's done, it should just work. So you can see here on the left hand side, there's all the organisations, and here's my swim lane. You'll see the little square in the corner, in the middle of the lanes there. That's associated to the information you published. And you'll see here, once I select the set, it'll just show me one model, which is there. Okay. And we can do the same thing as what we can do in Docs here. You'll see we can go in, we can view the model, we can select elements, we can get the properties. You probably can't see it too clearly on here, but that is actually incorrect. So we need to go back into Revit and fix that. Okay, so you'll see here, I'm creating an issue. I'm creating an issue to tell my colleague that I need to fix that problem, or they need to fix that problem, and update the model back into BIM 360, and then push a published version back into here. So we can actually utilise it and give access to the other disciplines that are working on the project. Okay, so it's just going through there and the information in. Obviously putting in specific dates and who it needs to go to and what the actual problem is. Okay. So this, we'll still be able to view this inside here, but we'll also be able to view it inside our Docs environment as well. Okay. So that's now created the issue. On the right hand side here, you see I'm clicking on this little circle with a cross inside that, and that's creating a package. So what a package does, it publishes the information so the other users can have access to it. So for example, the architect, the structural engineer, or whoever else is actually working on the project. Once you publish it, they can then take that file and consume it and put it as a reference file of their own. Okay? you can see here, I've just called it a simple name. So in this case, for example, I go in here and put it as S1, assured coordination, just in the title, just so people know what it is. And obviously you can go in there and put whatever you need or specify specifically the project. And then click Show. Okay. Put a little description there to tell people what it is, because obviously it might not be simple to explain the title. And then share the file, and then others will have access to it. And what should happen is the swim lane should change, so when you look at the swim lane itself, rather than having the square, you'll see now it should have a circle. Okay. And you can see here my typing is really slow. Okay. So that, sure. Good job, son. Now it does take a few moments sometimes to actually share the information, but you'll see here now we have a circle on the screen, which gives us the option to say we have it published. Okay. This will just continuously grow as we share and publish our files from all disciplines. Okay. So the next thing is we're going to look at the file. So I'm here in Revit. You can see here I can access directly from the cloud inside Revit. I'm using Revit 2020 here actually. You can see here's my model. I can go in and because I've consumed the file, our published file there, I can now consume it, but also I'm checking the file here. You can see here there's an error that we made. So just fixing the file, quickly correct what someone's done wrong, and then we can republish the file up so we can utilise it again. Okay, not rocket science, simple Revit corrections, as they say. They're all human. So you can see here, just sharing some more information this time. So you can create your own little packages to share, whatever those packages you need. So for example, 3D model is great, but having a plan view, for example, can help when you're sharing information. You can see here, just going through, and save asset. Okay. So the ones that you have ticked, when you publish it, they will go through to BIM 360 and sit in the cloud as a new set. Okay. You can have more than one set as you go up, and then you just publish it to the cloud. There is multiple ways you can do that. Publishing to the cloud, I'm just doing it in multiple ways using that on the screen. So it allows us to push the information through. Okay. So I'll do that. So we're back into BIM 360. You'll see in design here. Okay. Still the building service engineers, just pull that down. And you'll see now, as long as the service learning squares here, this is just basically a timeline. So this could be days, weeks, months, years. You can make it smaller because you might have more information on there. You can make it longer depending on the sort of project you're working on. Because I'm an administrator, I can see all disciplines at the moment, even though they haven't shared information. If they haven't shared anything just present, and I didn't have the rights, I wouldn't be able to see anything on the screen. So then if you see here, I'm the architect at this point. Here's my model. There's my published. Okay. You can see here, I can go to the published, I can look at the file. Okay. I'm looking at the information itself. So there's the change. I put the MRUG sign on the building. You can see some changes there. Okay. As you probably gather, people that use this, you get images in, you can't see images too well in here. So I just changed it to small text. So at this point, I'm creating a package. So I'm sharing this as the architect. Again, I'm giving it a title just so people know. And I'm going to share it so all the other organisations can then see this. Now bear in mind, I can publish this as many times as I want until I share a package. The package is one that people see, that people utilise. So again, I'm going through this process. We can actually set this up so you would have multiple packages set up for an organisation on a weekly basis. Okay, so say Friday at 4 o'clock, rather than days gone by, you'd sit there and you'd upload file, and sat there waiting until it's done. The file is up there, it's already there, you just send it and it'll do itself in its background. So you'll see the file is now up. We have some more swim lane things on the top there. And if we go back into document management, you'll see in here the information is gone up there. You'll see if we go into a folder. Now I'm the architect here. You can see my folder is just a bit smaller. Got in there. There's the consumed file I've got. So every time we consume something, it will update appropriately. So we go in here, we can link the file. Now what we've got to be careful of here, I can see everybody's folders. If I didn't have the admin rights, I would only see the folders that I need, i.e., for example, building services, I see building services. I'm going to the building services folder, under consume, select the architecture file which I want to load in, I'm going to select it and open it up. And load it in. Now obviously, I was talking about insertion points earlier, make sure you check your insertion points. Okay. This had already previously linked files which were linked locally on the C drive before it was uploaded. I forgot to remove them, so I just went in and checked them and removed them, take them out now. So you'll see here, just taking the section box through, you can see in the building, there's the architecture, there's the services. So let's now make the architecture, let's actually turn those off, delete those first, so we don't need any more. They've gone. Okay. So even though I've got files linked locally, it's still picking up the linked file, but I don't actually need those linked files because they're not required anymore. So you'll see here, I forgot to set that off, let's remove that one. Okay. I'll now take the architecture model and I'll make it so I can see the architecture model, but I'm going to grey it out a little bit, make it transparent so we can actually see basically our building services information. So there you go. Okay. A bit of colour here, you can see. So you can see it's easy to coordinate the information. Okay, and it makes life a lot easier because we're working basically through the cloud. I personally, when I've worked in an organisation, if I need to be able to sign on site, VPN it into the site is ridiculously slow and so long-winded it takes forever to actually access the information. Okay, you've got to have internet access for this, but most people have a decent enough internet access now that they can access the information quite easily in the cloud. Okay. Now I've gone through that reasonably quickly because I've put some videos on there. Does anyone want to go into BIM 360 and show you this in real? Does anyone want to? Don't mind? Yeah, okay, right.